Hey, it's Forrest. Recently, I had one of my subscribers ask me a question about startup cost to get into hotshotting. They have a CDL, but they were driving a semi truck, but they decided that they wanted to get into hotshotting. The perspective I'll have to kind of give this information out to would be from a perspective of starting into hotshotting, but running cars, right? Vehicle transportation. Even though when I started the company, I actually started it with freight. Didn't stand that long, just didn't like it. There was a lot of things. I've covered that in other videos. But I wanted to kind of answer the question, but I thought there might be others out there that wanted to know this. And I've seen many videos on people telling you exact numbers of what it cost them to get started. Some of them didn't give all the details that I may give, and some of these details I'm going to give you, some of these numbers I'm going to give you, are going to have some variables. You know, if your driver's license, if you've done a great job and haven't wrecked anything or gotten any tickets, of course you're going to spend less money on the insurance. If you have been a terrible driver and you've done a lot of bad things and you're barely hanging on to your driver's license, of course it's going to cost a heck of a lot more money. So the numbers I'm going to give you are kind of a middle of the road perspective. You know, if you started off and you've done okay, this is what it would cost you to get started. So right up front, in another video, I said that you're better off when you start a hotshotting company or any other kind of trucking company, to hire a compliance officer, somebody who knows the ins and outs of the FMCSA and their requirements. It can save you so much time and energy. I tried to do it myself. I ended up hiring this Mary Bayberry, who I actually learned about through watching Hotshot Adventures with that channel. And so I would strongly suggest you get yourself a compliance officer. Now, they can be expensive. I mean, some of them run, you know, initially they'll run $1,500, $1,600 or more. But by and large, you typically hire one for like between $600 and $1,000, and they'll get all your filings done. And usually that's for a year, right? So it'll cost you between $600 and $1,000. And when I say a year, because remember, after you do your initial filings, there's some follow-up filings that you have to do, like the MCS 150, I think there's like an MCS 90, and some other stuff that you have to do. BOC 3, there's a number of documents that have to be filed, you know, after you get the MC going. And they'll know all that. But so let's just assume that you're going to take that good piece of advice and you're going to run with that. So the first figure, you can figure on between $600 and $1,000 for a compliance officer. Now, the filings will be on top of that, and the filings run, I think they're running right now about $385 for the FMCSA filings. Maybe a little bit more now. You know, things have gone up. And so you might check on that, but about that range you can figure. Now once you get your filings done, and you've got your compliance officer paid to do that, you're going to need to get some insurance. Now, typical insurance down payments, again, depending on driving record and some other factors, if you're hauling cars, you have to have, you know, $1 million worth of liability insurance, and then you're going to have $100,000 cargo insurance, and then you're going to have that to haul cars. There's no broker is going to give you any cars with not having that. Not only are you not, the FMCSA is not going to allow you to haul vehicles down the road with less than that, no brokers are going to get you, so you got to have that insurance. And that's probably going to cost you between $3,000 and $5,000 up front. I've heard of people with less. If you've got a CDL, maybe you got some history, you may get less, probably not. But most people are going to land between $3,000 down and $5,000 down. And remember, when you first start out, you're a new entrant. So the insurance is going to be really high to begin with. And when I say that, obviously that's going to dictate the down payment. So you'll probably see that $5,000 figure up front. But if you later on you change insurance companies or renew insurance, you know, a couple of years down the line or so, and 3 years seems to be that magic part. If you have a lower down payment. So say between $3,000 and $5,000 initially to get your insurance down the road. Now, this is something that I haven't seen anybody talk about, but it needs to be talked about. The decal on the side of your truck. On each side of your truck, the FMCSA requires that you have your name, your company's name, your DOT number, and your MC number displayed. Every time you go through one of these weigh stations and those cameras take a picture of the side of your truck, they want to see it. And the quickest way to get pulled in for some sort of DOT inspection is to have some piece of notebook paper with crayon on it that's postage stamp. I'm telling you now, if you don't do this, you're going to pay for it in the long run. You want to get you a nice decal on the side of the truck, either put it on the door or put it on the window, one or the other, and make it nice. Make it plenty big enough. Make the numbers plenty big enough, 3.5, 3 inches, 4 inches maybe even, to where they can read those numbers, where they can see those numbers, without having to squint. Now, to those ends. So let's talk about this. Once you've got that done, you're going to also, again, to those ends, before you do that, I should have mentioned this in the front end, but before you do that, remember, in your state, you're going to have to do corporate filings. Another fee that I've never seen mentioned in one of these videos about cost of getting into hotshotting, you're going to have to file with your state board of corporations in some kind. Every state has a different name for it. In Florida, we have something called the Florida SunBiz, which is the Department of Corporations in Florida. And that's going to run you, depending on the state, anywhere from like 80 to, I've seen them high, I've heard tell of $150 to $200. But in Florida, it's about $185 in Florida to get that done. So don't forget about that cost too, because, so if you look at those figures alone, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But here we're going to get into something now that is kind of up and down. Now, so let's say you've got all this done. You've got your filings all done. You've got your MC number. You've got your insurance. Now you need to get on some load boards. Simple as that. You got to get on some load boards. Now, you could go out and hire one of these dispatch companies. They'll already have the load boards. But even if you do that, I'm going to highly suggest to you that you go out and get yourself some load board accounts. And again, from the perspective of transporting cars, you want to get on the biggest load board around, and that's going to be Central Dispatch. There's some other load boards out there, but Central Dispatch is the big boy. Now, the thing is, when you get Central Dispatch, they usually will waive the upfront cost. Sometimes they have like these, $49 up front, to get you set up fees and stuff, and then it's like, I think it's about $149 a month or something like that for the monthly fees on that. It's a fee that we pay. I just haven't paid attention to it in a long time because it's something that's just kind of baked into what we do. But here's the thing. Go ahead and get that signed up. Whatever it is, just go ahead and sign up for it. So you can figure I don't believe you're going to pay any down payment fee to get started, nor is any kind of setup fee. So you can figure about $149 a month that's going to get you. Now, downrange from that, after you've been around a while and you move from your new entrant, which lasts 18 months, and have some little time baked in there, usually 6 months. A lot of the brokers for some of the larger companies, they have their own load boards, like Assertus and Metro Loads and some others out there. You take about 6 months to a year, before they're going to recognize you and let you book their loads, right? So downrange, you're going to be able to do that. And then once you get your permanent status after 18 months with the FMCSA, then you'll find there'll be a whole bunch of load boards that'll open up for you. But the initial load boards you're going to need to use if you're going to haul cars would be Central Dispatch. I mean, I wish I could say different. It's a pretty good load board. There's loads on there. And I had the question asked of me just today. Somebody asked me, said, what do you think about the load boards? And as a new entrant, am I going to be able to find stuff? Sure, on Central Dispatch, you can find stuff. Now, are you going to get the best stuff in the world? Probably not. But you're going to be able to find loads out there. You're going to be able to make some money. It's not going to, you're going to be okay. The next thing is, and this is real speculative, right? And this has to do with your truck and trailer. So again, in the car world, trailers can range. You can find some really good used buy them for cash models out there. I saw one the other day, a 3-car, which we buy trailers because we lease trailers, so we buy trailers. And I saw a used one out there. It was a 3-car hauler, a Kaufman 3-car hauler, I believe it was, or Take 3-1, and it was only like $3,000 or $4,000. But the thing had rust all over it, I mean, when you looked at the pictures, it was rust all over it. It needed brakes, needed a whole bunch of stuff. By the time you got into it, it would have a fairly short service life, and I'm not sure it would pass if you had a safety inspection or an inspection by the DOT because of the rust. They probably would have said, "Hey, what about this rust?" So you're gonna probably spend, if you have the cash to go buy one, you can probably spend between $10,000 and $12,000 if you're gonna buy one cash. If you're gonna go finance one, you're probably going to need $5,000 to $7,000 down on a good 3-car trailer. If you're running non-CDL, you're going to want the lightweight stuff, so you're going to want that. If you're running CDL, you can get a 3 or 4-car trailer if you're on a 3,500. If you're on a 4,500, you could probably go up to 4 cars, and stay there. If you're on a 5,500, you can go 5, 6 cars, up there. I really wouldn't get into these 7 cars, but 5 or 6 cars on a 5,500 is okay. But again, the cost of that trailer is going to climb. The more cars you can carry, obviously, the more expensive the trailer is. The average person, if they start hotshotting cars, typically starts with a 3-car hauler. Even this guy with the CDL, I would probably suggest that he starts with a 3-car hauler. The reason I say that is because it's going to be easier to sell that trailer should you decide, I hate sleeping in the backseat of my dually. This is terrible. The oversight, each state, they all pick on me, whatever. But then you'll have something you can sell pretty quickly because it doesn't cost a lot of money. But again, if he finances that, he's going to need probably $7,000 down, $5,000 to $7,000 down. You can lease them. We lease trailers. You can lease them. You're typically going to put down $1,500 on a 3-car trailer, about $1,500 down. If you buy one, you're probably going to have a payment somewhere in the neighborhood of about $600, $600 a month. Whereas if you lease one, your down payment is a lot lower, but your monthly payment is going to be a little bit higher at $1,000. Some advantages leasing over buying. If you're leasing a trailer, there's some expectation that the leasing company is going to do some of the work on it. You're responsible for maintenance, wheel grease, and the wheel bearings and tires. But there's some things, if you have a ramp that breaks or the winch stops working, those kind of things. Whereas if you buy it, that's all on you. If anything of this kind of stuff happens, it's all on you. And inspections. Most of the leasing places like us, we cover the cost of your FMCSA annual inspection. We pay for that. So that's another cost. If you're looking at the cost of your truck, now this is where it really gets crazy because that's going to depend a lot on your credit. It's going to depend a lot on the truck, what size truck, where you get the truck. Is there a guy named Manny selling you a truck in his backyard? Are you paying cash? But if you're paying cash for a truck, anything you're going to want to get out there and run up and down the road is going to be very expensive. You're talking, $50,000, $60,000 for something new enough with low enough miles to where you can rack them on there because you're going to want to drive 110,000 miles, 120,000 miles in a year. So if you buy something with 100,000 miles on it, and drop 110 or so, you're at 220, which is nothing on most of these diesels, especially the newer stuff. You can easily handle that. But if you buy something real old, it's already got 340 on the ticker, and now you're dropping another 120,000 on top of that, you're going to spend a whole lot of money in repair costs. So you have to weigh that out, right? You have to say, I can put a decent down payment of $5,000 to $7,000 and buy a newer truck, not a brand new truck, but a newer truck, 17, 18, 19 or so. Even 20 now, we're in 2024, so probably 18 to 24 to 20, 21. You put $5,000 to $7,000 depending on credit, whatever. Get yourself a truck payment of $950, $1,000. Again, as my video talked about, I would go and buy an XL. I wouldn't buy some high-end, high country, high winder, whatever these things are with the leather and the giant screens and sunroofs. You don't need all that. This is a tool you're buying. Buy the tool that'll do the job. You don't have to get crazy and buy a golden hammer. So again, you're talking about $5,000 or $7,000. So, and then on top of that, now once you get your trailer, you're gonna have to buy all the stuff to go on the trailer, all your soft tie systems and all those kind of things go on the trailer. And again, if your trailer doesn't have a winch, when you buy it, you're gonna have to put a winch on it. And again, I would put a winch on it just because of what you're gonna need down the road. You never know what you're gonna run into. So you got a battery and things like that. Then you're gonna have to put some stuff. You have to get some sort of bedding or something to put in your truck, coolers and things like that. So you could easily rack on another $1,000 putting together some equipment. So probably if you buy the trailer and you have to put a big down payment, you're probably looking around 20 grand to get into trucking, to get into hotshot trucking. If you're going to lease the trailer, you could probably get in there for about $14,000 or so, maybe a little bit more. So probably 20, 21,000, 14 to 16,000 if you're going to lease the trailer. So that's the variables, and those are the costs that I think that most people would incur when they get into hotshotting. And again, your numbers may vary for sure, but that's going to give you at least a range to get into. So if you're thinking about doing it, know that depending on the variable of the trailer. Now, if you noticed, I didn't say anything about leasing the truck. The problem with truck leasing is, and hotshotting is because you're leasing a dually, and there's huge mileage restrictions on it. It costs a fortune. per mile if you go over these limits. Even if you get some of them out there, I've heard leases on dualies that are available for like 20,000 miles a year and things like that. But 20,000 miles, you're going to go 100,000 miles over that. It's so many cents per mile. It's going to cost you a fortune when you go turn that thing in. Now, the other option, of course, would be to go to enterprise and lease a dually. In those cases, those dualies, depending on you know what you're getting, I think they pretty much have Dodge. I think they have some Fords too, but those things are $3,000 and north of that a month, because you have to buy a minimum amount of miles, or they won't lease it to you. So those things are $3,000 and higher. So you're really not a good deal unless you just know you're going to make the money. Of course, with that, you're not putting down the $5,000 to $7,000 or more to buy one, you know, and you're getting a brand new truck and there's warranties and things like that on it. But still, it's going to be a whole lot of money per month. You can, in just a very short months, you can put down an awful lot of money to buy one, and then you can squirrel away money when it needs repairs, or buy an extended warranty or something when it needs repairs. But anyway, those are the costs that I come up with. I know this has been a long video for me, but that's the cost that I come up with. Thank you for watching, and subscribe if you would. You know, just click the subscribe button down there. Thank you.